Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's Friday. We are at the story. I'm telling myself, thank you for joining us. If you are here, you know the drill. This show is for you and with you. So jump in the comments, say hello, introduce yourself. And Melissa, my guest, Melissa, I'm going to let you tell everybody who you are.
Yes, I'm Melissa Robinson Hussain, so it's easy to find me if you use all three words in on LinkedIn. And I'm a personal and professional development coach, a positivity nerd, a Renaissance nerd, and I also teach professional development, and I'm a vocational consultant. And the tie through all of this is really just helping people experience success.
I love that. And I know your heart. I know how committed that you are to that and how much it fills your cup to be in that business. But you are also an author of one of my favorite books from last year, Positively Triggered. And you're here to tell not just the story of the book, but the story behind the story about what was going on in your life and how you got to the place to decide to write Positively Triggered. And I get to say, I was sort of on the inside track a little bit of that with Melissa, which was pretty cool. Very happy that that happened. But tell everyone, Melissa, about
Yeah.
why you felt compelled to write Positively Triggered.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rita. And a lot of kudos goes to you for giving me the courage to write the book. I'd seen your books. We were in a class together. So thank you for that, for giving me the courage to make that leap. But the background is that in 2015, I went through a huge personal transformation. And it all started because I had started my own business, Renaissance Vocational Services. And I had built it up to the point where it was meeting my basic needs, but it was just stalled there. And I was really frustrated with myself. And one day I caught myself in a daydream instead of working. And I scolded myself. I'm like, Melissa, what are you doing? You have this opportunity to build this beautiful business doing what you love, and you're dreaming. What is wrong with you? Why aren't you giving your best to this? And this inner voice just screamed, because I'm not at my best. And I realized,
Wow. Okay. Wait, girl. We just got to stop right there. Welcome, Casey. If you're here and you're joining us, jump in the comments. Like, this is huge because I think many of us have had that feeling, but maybe not able to name it
yeah,
so clearly,
yeah,
right? This idea that we are distracted, daydreaming, and it's because we're not really finding the meaning and passion in where we are. So
yeah,
huge kudos to you, but to the people who are listening to this conversation, if that is you, stay with us. I'm going to let her tell you more, but I want you to just take a moment and breathe and really acknowledge the fact that you're okay. You are not the only one and that you have options. You have options, my friend. Just hang in there. Melissa's going to tell you more about how she found her options. Hey, Ruth, thanks for joining us. Hey, Sonia, so glad to have you with us again today. Okay, I'm going to let you continue on. I'm sorry, but that was too big of a disclosure to just fly
yeah.
by.
It had that kind of like eye-opening, like, whoa moment for me. It was the first time I admitted to myself just how bad and off track things had become in my personal life. I had poured everything in my professional life because I felt like that was the only thing I had control over. And I had let my personal life just go off track to the point where I didn't recognize myself when I looked in the mirror. Like, I wasn't who I wanted to be. It wasn't the life I wanted to be living. I had tried to tell myself this story that as long as my business, as long as I was making that positive impact, as long as I was doing that, that's all I needed. But it wasn't. I wasn't able to contribute like I knew I could because I wasn't giving myself what I needed in other areas.
Okay, no,
And
we got
yeah,
to name that for a second. If you were telling yourself the story Oh, be quiet, Rita. That should be enough. If that is the voice that you have in your head, be quiet. That should be enough.
Yeah.
Melissa just gave you permission to say, no, it's not.
No, it's not enough. It's not enough. Like your dreams, your needs, your beliefs, your opinions, they all matter, and more than just your work. And I hadn't allowed myself that until that point. So we're going to try to condense a big story and just say that I made that decision, that I own my story, and I was going to change it. And I did over the next
And the
couple
episode is called Who Do I Want to Be? And you
Yes.
decided this person I am in this moment, this is not who I want to
No.
be. I
Yeah.
got to go find the woman I want to be, the one that is living the dreams inside of my head.
Yes.
And that takes courage. It takes tremendous courage. Where did you find the strength and courage, do you think, to allow yourself to acknowledge that truth?
You know, it did come from that realization that I'm so upset that I'm not making the difference I know I can make. And then realizing I'm never going to make the difference I want to make if I'm not my best self. Like if I'm walking around with pain and like anxiety all the time and these heavy feelings that some of my dreams were never going to come true. And I was mourning them. And it was just this situation where I didn't have the energy or the frame of mind to serve like I wanted to. So knowing I was never going to serve and make the impact I wanted to make unless I fixed myself. And I've said it before to a lot of my friends. The magic was learning to coach myself. I had been coaching all these other people to realize their employment dreams, and I hadn't used any of those skills for me and for my life. And
now,
so
I'm going to say something here that might be unpopular, but I think it is worthy of saying. So, you know, if you disagree with me, feel free, jump in the comments and disagree. But I just want to point out something, because when you said that, Melissa, and this is one of the things that has just always attracted me so much to you. I'm a huge fan of Martha Beck, the author, and I loved her book, The Way of Integrity. And it is exactly about what you are talking about when we are not in integrity, meaning that we are not in mental, emotional, and physical alignment, things go really wackadoodle. And for many of us women, the place it goes wackadoodle is in our bodies.
Yeah.
So if you're suffering from migraines suddenly, if you suddenly don't have any energy to get through the day, if you are having aches and pains in your body, it might be aging. It might be menopause or perimenopause. But here's the question you should be asking yourself, which is the one that Melissa asked, which is, am I who I want to be? What part of me is not who I want to be? Because if you choose, my friend, to take that journey, and Melissa's going to give you some amazing tools to help you get there, you might find that some of those things don't continue to haunt you the way they are today.
Yeah. Thank you.
Welcome, Misha. Misha's going to be on the show in a few weeks. Welcome, Misha. Glad that you were here with us. I'm sorry. I keep interrupting you, but oh my God, they're so powerful, Melissa. It's so powerful.
Well, one of the things that you just said is a perfect segue. So I was successful in completely rebooting my life and living in alignment with who I wanted to be and how I wanted to live. And friends who watched me with that transformation would ask me, how did you do this? And I thought it was because I am a huge Renaissance nerd, and I ran away to Florence, Italy for a week for that first initial boost of rebooting my life. And so I thought it was my love of the Renaissance. But it was later when I took a positive intelligence course with you, Rita, that I realized what really had been my success tool was having myself surrounded at all times about things that were constant reminders of who I wanted to be and how I wanted to live. They were my alignment triggers of like, okay, am I getting off course? This thing will come into my environment and remind me of who I wanted to be and how I wanted to live. And that's how I came up with this idea of those are positive triggers. I would get triggered to realign several times a day by just surrounding myself with things that reminded me of who I wanted to be and how I wanted to live. So that's
and what I love about that is, look, triggered is triggered, but instead of focusing on the deficit side of trigger, you focused and amped up the positive side of trigger, right? So trigger isn't, oh gosh, here's the bad thing again. Trigger was like, oh, here's the reminder, realign, time to realign. And not beat yourself up and not, oh my gosh, you're a horrible person because you're out of alignment. It's like, oh, wait, let's just make a little adjustment here. Yeah. And this is something that you teach in your book, which is so beautifully written that everybody can access, this ability to claim the word triggered and use it as these little realignment reminders.
Yeah. Well, the word triggered is so powerful, but when we hear the word triggered, we think of intense emotions hitting us out of the blue, and they tend to be negative. Something
and they knock us off course.
They knock us off course. And something happens and it reminds us of a negative event. And all of a sudden we're right back there in the negative event. And it occurred to me that what I had done for myself was set up positive reminders all around me to help keep me realigned and give me that energy. And it was that same mechanism. It's like if-then programming. If I see this, then I feel and think that. If I smell this, I think and feel this other thing. And so by having and intentionally installing these positive if-then programmings, I was able to continually realign myself.
Well, one of the most powerful things that we learned together when we did the positive intelligence course is the fact that we spend so much of our life operating on autopilot without thinking. Right. And so what I want to call attention to is this idea that this if then is, you said, think about this, right? So getting yourself off of the autopilot thoughts that were probably not very helpful and maybe even harmful, and instead choosing a different thought in that place. So give some examples to people of before and afters of what some of those triggers looked like for you.
Yeah. So, well, I'm not so sure about before now. I don't know that I've changed negative triggers into positive triggers so much as like installed new positive triggers, but some of the most powerful ones. And I want to talk about this autopilot because autopilot is natural. We're all on autopilot. We can try as much as we want to live more intentionally and more presently, but it's part of the way we function to be on autopilot. So what the positive triggers do is it installs positivity into our autopilot. When I see this, I feel this way. When I do this, or when I feel this way, I have this other reaction. Like it changes that autopilot to serve us better. And so here's some examples. So one of the most powerful triggers I have is this painting here above me. When I saw that painting, I had this like visceral reaction to her the first time I saw her because she is intensely focused on her work. She's powerful and graceful. And when I researched who is this character, I found out she's a sorceress and she's in the middle of transforming others. There's a bunch of weird, like there's a dog and some weird things in the background, and also some men in the far background. And what she's doing is she's undoing curses and restoring people to their original selves. And I just saw her and I thought, wow, I want to be like her. I want to be so good at what I do that it seems like magic. I want to be able to transform myself and transform others like she does. And so I bought this canvas of it and I hung it in my office. And now whenever I come into my office and I see her, it reminds me of the kind of coach I want to be, the kind of impact I want to make. And it's a really powerful trigger. And it helps me
So can I just name here? Like, because the other thing that could happen, and that probably happens to many of you, is you see something powerful like that, and what your automatic brain does is it says, "You're not all of that, man. You are just not even close."
Yes, it's true. It's
So
true.
you didn't intend to replace, but in ways we actually do,
You're right.
because we look outside of ourselves and we compare ourselves to other people and other environments. And most of the time, who shows up is our judge, gavel in hand, ready to declare how inferior
Yeah,
we are.
it's true. And I think that the thing was, this was 2017 when I saw her, so it was 2 years after my initial reboot. And over those 2 years, I had gained this really strong belief that regardless of where I am right now, I get to choose where I'm going to be, and I get to tell
Mm.
that story of where am I going. And so when I saw her and I thought that's who I want to be, I knew I wasn't anywhere near there. But it was so inspiring to think, you know what, with enough effort, I could be there. And so that was 2017. So it's been many years now since that happened. And I was on Sri's podcast, and he told me that when I told him that story, he's like, "You are Melissa. You've done that." Oh, sorry. By the way, this picture's name is Melissa. Little bit of a coincidence there. She was painted in 1515. I was born in the 1970s, so big difference, but we're both named Melissa. But yeah, Sri's like, I can see that you've spent years trying to align yourself with that. So these
So
positive tricks
this is
work.
big important tip number 1 from Melissa. If you're keeping track, I'm trying to in the comments. Choose the story of where you are going. It doesn't matter. Perfecting the story of where you've been is a waste of your time and energy.
Yeah.
There's nothing to be done about that.
No.
Channel all of your being into the story of where you are going. Ruth, no matter where I am, I get to tell the story of where I will be. It is incredibly, incredibly powerful. Misha, thank you, ladies. I've started practicing to use the word activated or activating instead of triggered, due to the violence that it suggests. I'm not perfect, but working on it. And yes, word substitution. But what I love about what you did is you reclaimed it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is important for us to take the power back in words. There was a whole conversation last year, 2 years ago on LinkedIn about what does professional mean?
Mm-hmm.
And really redefining and reclaiming, instead of people using professional as a baton to beat on people for perceived inferiority, people really getting to own their own definition of that, right? So
Yeah.
that idea of claiming words is really a powerful place to be. So yes, so give us another example of another positive trigger you've put into your routine and your environment, because we're going to steal shamelessly from you, Melissa. I just want you to
Oh,
know
please
this is
do.
going to go
Please
viral,
do.
and we're going to steal all these things from you.
Okay, another powerful thing that I do to keep myself aligned is I always wear a middle finger ring. And I have like a whole bunch of different rings that all fit on my middle finger. And I'm going to keep this safe for work. But I remember reading the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving Enough. And I will change the F word to care for this conversation. But in that book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Care, the real purpose of it is that we have limited cares to give. So we need to be really intentional about where we're putting that energy and what we give a care about. And so I started putting a ring on my middle finger every morning as a reminder of I get to decide where I put my energy and what I care about. And yeah, I have a lot of different rings that help me with that. But I want to share with you the ring I'm wearing today. It is the Duomo in Florence. And the Duomo in Florence has this beautiful story of when they wanted to build the biggest cathedral in the world, they didn't know how to do it. In fact, they knew they didn't have the technology to finish it. to put the dome on it, but they just got started. And with that faith, when it came time to finish it, they had the foundation to put the dome on it, and they were able to accomplish it. So this idea of, okay, we can have big, bold dreams and not know exactly how we're going to get there. As long as we know where we're at now and what our first step is, and we have that big, bold dream, everything else in the middle, we can figure it out along the way. So I wear that middle finger ring sometimes when I want to remind myself to have big, bold dreams and not to worry about every step along the way. I'll figure it out when I get there.
I'm just typing that in. You could build before you know, right? You don't have to wait for everything to be aligned. And you're getting so much love in the comments. I just love it. I've been popping them through. But so the middle finger, the ring it's a reminder when you look about it of where am I putting my energy? Where am I putting my cares?
Yes.
And it's funny. I have a very good friend. I got to have Joy on the show at some point. Joy, you got to find the show. You got to come in. We got to have a conversation. But Joy was one of my peer coaches early on in my career. And we were having this conversation at one point, and she was talking about the fact that like somebody cut you off on the commute into work. It just spoils your commute. You're just and you're in your car and you're driving, and as soon as it happens, then you're yelling at that person. You got this whole story going on in your head, and you spend the remainder of your commute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, however it is, allowing all of your energy to be stolen by that person in that car.
Yeah.
And she's like, why? Why are you giving, why does that person deserve more of your energy? That's what your middle ring is about.
It reminds me
right?
that every morning. It reminds me to be intentional about that. And then it will, the specific ring that I choose will give me a secondary reminder. Today it's big, bold dreams. Maybe it's I have like a promise ring I'll wear to remind myself to keep promises that I make to myself, because those are the hardest sometimes. We always like, oh, you know what? Yeah. So I'll have different things like that. But they work with my autopilot to keep me in the right direction.
So surround yourself with these little signals that remind you who you want to be. You define what those are. They don't have to be the same for everybody.
Oh no, yes.
So
in fact, the
what
more
was one
the
of the hardest what was one of the hardest shifts that you needed to make, and how long did it take you to figure out a trigger to help you with it?
Great question. I think it's the middle ring finger. I think that's why I need it every day. That is something that I struggle with. For 38 years of my life, I was 35, 36 years of my life, I was a big people pleaser, yes, person. Didn't know how to say no, didn't know how to even know what my boundaries were, much less uphold them, And so another thing that the middle ring finger reminds me is one of my brothers does this thing where when he's feeling cheeky, he'll throw up the bird and he'll say, F you, I do what I want. I do what I want. And it's like in a joking way. And so that reminds me that, I need to check in with myself before I give everything away. Am I pouring into my cup before I pour into others? It's my cup runneth over. You got to fill in your cup and then you can fill in others. So I think that's the biggest shift. And it's something that I need constant realignment on. And that's why I have that particular trigger.
I just love that. That's so good. It is so very, I mean, it is so simple, and yet it is so hard for us to do that for ourselves. What internal critic stories did you find yourself having to tamp down a few times as you were trying to give yourself permission? because it's not like you flip a switch. I'm pretty certain it's not like you flip a switch. And I
No.
want to acknowledge that to our listeners who want to follow in your shoes. They want this powerful playbook you have. But it's not a flip the switch. So tell us just a little bit more color commentary on what we might be up against in this journey of establishing our positive triggers and allowing them to transform us.
Yeah, I think early on, the hardest thing and the heaviest thing was knowing that my making changes so that I could be who I want to be and live the life I want to live was going to hurt others. It was going to change their lives too. And the the ripple effect. And that was really hard and it was really painful. But over time, I came to realize that that it would be best for them too in the long run. Yes, yes, maybe it's going to be hard for them to accept these changes I'm making, but I had belief that in the long run, if it was good for me, it would be good for them too.
I love it. I'm posting that up real quick. So I heard two things in that. Two things you want to walk away with. One is you are allowed to choose yourself.
Yes.
One of the first challenges is going to be continuing to give yourself permission to put your name at the top of that priority list.
Yeah.
Don't pretend like it's not going to be hard. Don't pretend like you're not going to get pushback from people who you just dropped down on that list, because those things are probably going to happen. But you have to have belief in your relationships and your ability. We don't use boundaries to hold other people out. We use boundaries to construct the framework that allows our excellence to shine.
I love that. Yes.
How to do the work at home first, and believe that when you are in your excellence, there's going to be room in everybody else. But you're gonna break a few glasses along the way here to get there.
You are. And it's probably not as bad as you think it is. You think you're going to hurt all these people. You think that people are going to judge you for doing these things. But we don't know that that's how it's going to play out. I can't tell you how many people I thought I was going to lose their friendship over some of the changes I made. And instead, I heard, it's about time. It's about time you put yourself first. It's about time you stepped into your power. And I was shocked. The very people I thought were going to criticize me supported me.
Wow. 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 Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Karen says that is it. That is it. And if people aren't willing to celebrate you, there's some people that don't deserve to be in your orbit. There are some people that are dragging you down. This might be an indicator, but you're not doing any of this for anybody else. You didn't do any of this for anybody but you.
Yeah.
That is important for you to understand. You do this for you. This is why Melissa and I are so aligned. It's the same exact lesson in Show Up Positive. You don't show up positive to fix other people. You show up positive to fix yourself, right? Healing starts inside of you first. And these are the steps that get you there.
Yeah.
So we are down to our last few minutes. We are coming up on our 30-minute mark on this episode. Final thoughts and words, wisdom that you want to share about your journey, and most importantly, about the new thoughts that we need in our heads if we want to live our lives positively triggered.
Wonderful. I think the most important thing is to realize we're in the driver's seat. Yes, there are things outside of our control. Maybe we can't control the seas or the wind, but we're behind the steering wheel. And once you step into that and take responsibility for how you show up, how we show up, it's life-changing. I have been through challenges in the last few years that I have no idea how my old self before I rebooted would have been able to survive those. I would have just been capsized and drowned if we're using the same metaphor, you know? But because I had taken responsibility for my own story, I was able to navigate them. And I'm so grateful for that. And that's what I hope with Positively Triggered is I hope it helps people to kind of upgrade their personal operating system, that autopilot, so that it helps them to be more aligned with who they want to be and how they want to live.
Now, you came with a very generous gift for everybody. I'm trying to get the comments here to load. I messed up. I failed to put your address
Oh, I see.
the first time, but tell everybody about the gift for
Yeah.
coming and joining this episode, listening in the replay. Tell them about your gift. It's just so wonderful.
Yeah, so the gift is I have Audible codes. So if you send me an email, I will send you an Audible code. It's a single-use code for a free download of the Audible version of the book. And I just ask that I get some feedback from it. That would be fantastic. Or share it. If you're listening to it and you think that somebody would really benefit from it, share it with them.
It's not an or. If you take her up on this offer, you are committing to go out to Amazon and write a review.
Thank you.
You're committed because there's no way you're not going to love this book. I mean, it is full of exercises to help you walk this path. It is a beautifully written, very accessible, and filled with actionable item book. And I apologize, it's so long, it didn't do it right. Okay, so it's renvoc.com. So renvoc.com is the website. And then Melissa at positivelytriggered.coach. I know it's not .com, it's not .net, it's not .co. Melissa at positivelytriggered.coach is where you're going to send that email to get your free Audible. I love Audibles. You can listen to Melissa teach you while you cook, while you clean, while you walk your dog. It's wonderful. So, but you're going to commit to give her the review. That's the repayment because we take care of one another in this community for sure. This has been, I mean, we could talk forever. You know, we are so aligned on these things, and you'll probably have to come back again because guess what, guys? She is working on a second book. Actually, you got 2 books in the work, but she's working on a second book that everybody who's listening to this podcast will have to talk about it more because it's on self-coaching. She's going to give you the whole playbook on self-coaching, and you are going to love that, right? So make sure that you are following Melissa, that you get connected up, and then you come back when we do her next book. Now, it is the end of this week, but next week we have 4 episodes because I had the little snafu with Tandra and we got her rescheduled. So Monday at 9 a.m., Tirsa Hall is This Risk Too Big. We're going to talk about trying to balance family and work. On Tuesday at noon, Tandra's with us, fresh out of the Super Bowl, talking about building her media empire. Can I really do that? Chasing your big dreams. On Friday at 2:00, Gary Spencer, who's in the house with us today, is with me, and he's going to talk about what if I pause, the power of choosing to pause, even in your professional life. His story is incredible. You're going to want to hear it. And then bonus Saturday at noon, Susan LaPlay Miller is with me, and we're going to talk about abandoning ourselves. Did I abandon myself? About being our internal pleaser, being addicted to pleasing other people, and how that causes us to abandon ourselves. And look, whether your pleaser is big or small in your life, it's harsh. That pleaser can be harsh. You're going to want to know this episode. So make sure that you got those 4 things Monday, Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday next week. We are back. And tell other people, come join us at the Story I'm Telling Myself podcast. Look, the comments are just pouring in. Anita, I needed to hear that. Great listen, because you are stellarly amazing, Melissa. Thank you for being my guest today. Thank all of you for joining us, jumping in the comments. If you're catching the replay, you got questions or comments, just hashtag replay, and Melissa and I are going to try to follow along on those and reply to you guys who are couldn't catch us live but make it to the replay. It is Friday. Go celebrate tonight. I know Melissa and I are going to high five after this because this was just an amazing conversation. Have a great weekend. I will see you back here Monday, 9 a.m. Tirsa Hall. Funniest person in HR. You're going to love Tirsa. She is amazing. I'll see you then. Have a great weekend, everyone.